From a championship rottweiler puppy to a magical flower field that wasn't really there, Houston's most romantic drama hides bizarre behind-the-scenes secrets. Discover how an NC-17 rating nearly derailed the film, why the director named his daughter after the movie, and the jaw-dropping truth about that infamous love scene. Fact 1. The film was originally rated NC-17. When Jason's lyric first landed on the desks of the Motion Picture Association of America Ratings Board in 1994, the organization delivered news that sent shockwaves through the production team. The film had been slapped with an NC-17 rating, the notorious classification that essentially functions as a commercial death sentence for any movie hoping to secure wide theatrical distribution. The reason for this harsh rating came down to the film's explicit love scenes between Alan Payne's Jason and Jada Pinkett's Lyric, which the ratings board deemed too sexually graphic for an R rating. Director Doug McHenry and his team faced a difficult decision because an NC-17 rating would have severely limited the number of theaters willing to show the film, and many major theater chains had policies against screening NC-17 movies altogether. The financial implications were staggering, as this rating could have buried the film before audiences ever had a chance to see it. To salvage the theatrical release, the filmmakers went back to the editing room and trimmed several seconds from the most explicit portions of the love scenes. These careful cuts were strategic, removing just enough content to satisfy the ratings board, while still preserving the passionate and sensual nature of Jason and Lyric's romantic connection. After resubmitting the edited version, the MPAA granted Jason's Lyric an R rating, allowing it to reach mainstream audiences across the country. The controversy surrounding the ratings battle actually generated additional publicity for the film, with many moviegoers curious to see what all the fuss was about. The love scenes that made it into the final cut remained incredibly bold and intimate for their time, helping to establish Jason's Lyric as one of the most romantically charged black films of the 1990s. Fact 2. A champion Rottweiler puppy appeared in the film. One of the most charming behind-the-scenes stories from Jason's Lyric involves a tiny four-legged star who would go on to achieve remarkable success far beyond the movie set. During filming, a 7-week-old Rottweiler puppy was cast to appear in the movie, and the production team decided to name the adorable pup Lyric after Jada Pinkett's character in the film. At the time, the puppy was just another animal performer contributing to the authenticity of the Houston neighborhood scenes. But what happened after the cameras stopped rolling turned this brief movie appearance into something far more extraordinary. The Rottweiler named Lyric went on to pursue a career in professional dog showing, competing in American Kennel Club and Canadian Kennel Club events across North America. Through years of dedicated training and competition, this former movie puppy achieved the prestigious title of American and Canadian Champion, a distinction that requires dogs to earn a specific number of points by placing in breed competitions against other top-quality dogs. Champion titles are awarded only to dogs who demonstrate exceptional conformation to breed standards, including physical structure, movement, temperament, and overall appearance. For a dog to become a champion in both the United States and Canada represents a significant achievement in the competitive dog show world. The fact that this particular Rottweiler started its journey on a movie set in Houston before climbing to the top of the show dog world makes the story even more remarkable. While most moviegoers watching Jason's Lyric never knew the tiny puppy they saw on screen would go on to such impressive accomplishments, the dog's dual success in entertainment and competitive showing remains one of the film's most unexpected legacy stories. Fact 3. Director's daughter shared the film's title. Director Doug McHenry's personal connection to Jason's Lyric extended far beyond his professional role as the film's director, reaching into the most intimate parts of his family life. McHenry named his daughter Lyric McHenry, sharing the same name as both the film's title and Jada Pinkett's character, which speaks to how deeply meaningful this project was to him on a personal level. For McHenry, the name Lyric represented something beautiful and poetic, embodying the romantic and artistic spirit that defined his directorial debut. His daughter, Lyric McHenry, grew up carrying this connection to one of the most beloved black romantic dramas of the 1990s. She eventually pursued her own path in the entertainment industry, working as a producer and appearing on the reality television series EJNYC, which followed the lives of E.J. Johnson and his circle of friends in New York City. Tragically, the story of Lyric McHenry took a heartbreaking turn in August of 2018. She was found unconscious on a residential sidewalk in the Bronx, New York, and despite efforts to save her, she passed away. The circumstances surrounding her death shocked those who knew her and cast a somber shadow over the McHenry family and the legacy of the film that shared her name. The New York City Medical Examiner later determined that her death involved a combination of factors, and the loss devastated her family and friends. For Doug McHenry, the name Lyric had once represented the creative achievement that launched his directing career and the daughter he cherished. But the tragic loss transformed that connection into something marked by profound grief and remembrance. Fact 4. The mother was only 11 years older than her son. One of the most surprising casting decisions in Jason's Lyric involves the age gap, or rather the lack thereof, between the actress playing the mother and the actor portraying her adult son. Suzanne Douglas was cast as Gloria, the matriarch of the Alexander family, who struggles with the trauma of her abusive marriage and the challenges of raising two troubled sons in a difficult Houston neighborhood. Alan Payne played Jason, her older son, who serves as the film's protagonist and romantic lead. In real life, however, Suzanne Douglas was only 11 years older than Alan Payne, a remarkably small age difference, considering she was supposed to be his mother and he was portraying a character in his 20s. This means that Douglas would have been just 11 years old when she theoretically gave birth to the character of Jason, which is obviously impossible and highlights just how much movie magic and performance can overcome biological realities. The casting worked because both actors brought such powerful emotional depth to their roles that audiences never questioned the family dynamic. Douglas portrayed Gloria with a weathered wisdom and maternal exhaustion that made her feel like she had lived through decades of hardship, while Payne's performance as Jason captured the complexity of a young man trying to break free from generational trauma. The age discrepancy between the actors never registered as a problem because their performances were so convincing and their on-screen chemistry as mother and son felt entirely authentic. Hollywood has a long history of casting actors in parental roles despite minimal age differences with their supposed children, but the 11-year gap in Jason's Lyric remains one of the more extreme examples of this practice. Fact 5. The grass magically transformed into flowers. The most iconic and visually striking moment in Jason's Lyric occurs during the film's centerpiece love scene, where Jason and Lyric consummate their relationship in an outdoor setting that undergoes a surreal transformation before viewers' eyes. The scene begins with the couple in a wooded area surrounded by grass and trees, but as their passion intensifies and the moment becomes more intimate, the cinematography suddenly shifts, and the grass beneath them transforms into a lush field of colorful flowers. The visual effect is dreamlike and clearly intentional, serving as a metaphor for the beauty and transcendence of their love and physical connection. Then, in an equally striking reversal, after the intimate moment concludes, the scene shifts back and the flowers disappear, returning to the original grass and woodland setting where the sequence began. This magical realism approach was a bold artistic choice by director Doug McHenry, blending naturalistic storytelling with fantastical visual poetry to elevate the love scene beyond simple physical intimacy. The flower field transformation has become one of the most memorable and discussed elements of Jason's Lyric, with audiences debating for decades whether the change was meant to represent Jason's idealized perception of the moment, a spiritual connection between the lovers, or simply a stylistic flourish to make the scene more cinematically beautiful. The technique draws from a tradition of using visual metaphors in romantic cinema, but the execution in Jason's Lyric feels particularly audacious because the transformation happens mid-scene rather than through a traditional crossfade or transition. This willingness to embrace heightened reality in the middle of an otherwise grounded urban drama is part of what makes the film so distinctive and why this particular scene remains etched in viewers' memories 3 decades later. Fact 6. The film tripled its budget at the box office. Despite the challenges of securing an R rating and the competitive theatrical landscape of 1994, Jason's Lyric proved to be a solid commercial success that exceeded the expectations of its producers and distributors. The film was made on a relatively modest budget of approximately $7 million, which was typical for mid-range urban dramas during that era of filmmaking. When Jason's Lyric opened in theaters on September 30th, 1994, it immediately found an audience hungry for romantic storytelling centered on Black characters and communities. The film's opening weekend brought in an impressive $5.1 million, a strong showing that demonstrated the appeal of the story and the drawing power of its cast. By the time Jason's Lyric completed its theatrical run, it had earned over $20.8 million at the domestic box office, nearly tripling its production budget. This level of financial performance was considered a success in the industry, especially for a film without major A-list stars and without the backing of a massive marketing campaign. The box office numbers proved that there was a significant audience appetite for Black romantic dramas that treated love and relationships with seriousness and artistic ambition rather than relying solely on comedy or action elements. The financial success of Jason's Lyric helped pave the way for other romantic films centered on Black characters throughout the late 1990s and early 2000s. For director Doug McHenry, the commercial performance validated his decision to make the film his directorial debut and demonstrated that audiences were ready to embrace the kind of passionate, mature storytelling that Jason's Lyric offered. Fact 7. A continuity error with the flowers. Even the most carefully crafted films occasionally contain continuity errors that slip past editors and make it into the final cut. And Jason's Lyric has its own share of these small mistakes that eagle-eyed viewers have spotted over the years. One of the most noticeable continuity errors occurs during a romantic scene between Jason and Lyric that involves a bouquet of flowers, which should be a simple and straightforward moment, but instead reveals a telling slip in the filmmaking process. In the scene, Jason is holding flowers that he intends to give to Lyric as a romantic gesture, and the initial shots clearly show him retrieving the bouquet with his right hand before hiding the flowers behind his back as he approaches her. This is a classic romantic movie move, building anticipation before the big reveal of the gift. However, when the camera angle changes and Jason finally presents the flowers to Lyric, the bouquet suddenly appears from under his left arm instead of from behind his back, where he had just hidden them moments earlier. The switch is jarring once you notice it, representing the kind of mistake that happens when scenes are filmed out of sequence or with multiple takes that don't perfectly match up in the editing room. Continuity errors like this occur in virtually every film production, but they become more noticeable in quiet, intimate scenes where viewers are paying close attention to every detail. For most audiences watching Jason's Lyric, this flower-switching moment goes completely unnoticed because they're focused on the emotional connection between the characters rather than tracking which hand is holding what prop. However, for film enthusiasts and detail-oriented viewers, catching these kinds of mistakes has become part of the fun of rewatching beloved movies and discovering the human imperfections behind the cinematic magic. Fact 8. The iconic railroad bridge was demolished. Jason's Lyric made extensive use of Houston locations to create its authentic portrayal of urban life in Texas, and one of the most visually memorable settings in the film was an abandoned railroad crossing that served as a romantic meeting place for Jason and Lyric throughout their courtship. The bridge, with its industrial architecture and isolated positioning, provided a perfect backdrop for intimate conversations between the two lovers, representing a space removed from the chaos and violence of their neighborhood where they could simply exist together. The location was situated east of Montrose and Studemont Boulevard, an area of Houston that has undergone significant changes over the decades since the film was made. For fans of Jason's Lyric who might have hoped to visit this iconic location and walk in the footsteps of their favorite characters, the news is unfortunately disappointing. The railroad bridge was demolished in early 2000, just 6 years after the film's theatrical release, erased as part of Houston's ongoing urban development and infrastructure changes. The destruction of this filming location represents a common fate for many movie landmarks, especially those in urban areas where real estate development and city planning priorities take precedence over preserving spaces with cultural or cinematic significance. While the bridge lives on forever in the film itself, its physical absence means that fans can only experience this romantic setting through their television or movie screens. The loss of the railroad bridge is a reminder of how temporary physical spaces can be, even when they become immortalized through cinema. For Houston residents who remember the bridge from before the film or who discovered it through Jason's lyric, the demolition marked the end of a small piece of the city's landscape that had been transformed into something meaningful through its appearance in one of the most celebrated black romantic films of the 90s. Fact 9. The bank robbery location doesn't actually exist. One of the film's most tense and dramatic sequences involves a bank robbery orchestrated by Joshua, played by Bokeem Woodbine, that serves as a crucial turning point in the story and represents the criminal path that Jason desperately wants to avoid. The bank robbery scene was filmed on location in Houston, using real city streets and landmarks to create an authentic sense of place. During the sequence, characters navigate a parking lot that is clearly positioned off Allen Parkway near the entrance to Eleanor Tinsley Park, a well-known Houston location along Buffalo Bayou. Viewers familiar with Houston might recognize the parkway and surrounding landscape, which adds to the film's grounded, realistic feel. However, there's a significant geographical impossibility built into this scene that reveals the creative liberties filmmakers often take when constructing their cinematic worlds. In reality, there are no buildings and certainly no banks actually located at that specific spot near Eleanor Tinsley Park entrance, where the film places the robbery location. The production team essentially created a fictional building in a real location, using camera angles, editing, and possibly some strategic set dressing to suggest the presence of a bank that doesn't exist in that space. This kind of cinematic geography manipulation is extremely common in filmmaking, where directors and cinematographers piece together different locations to create settings that serve the story's needs, rather than adhering strictly to actual urban layouts. For Houston locals watching the film, this geographical impossibility might be immediately obvious and even amusing, while viewers from outside the city would have no reason to question the authenticity of the location. The bank robbery scene works perfectly from a dramatic and visual standpoint, demonstrating that sometimes the most important truth in cinema is emotional truth rather than literal geographical accuracy. Fact 10. Rapper Treach made his acting transition through Tupac. Anthony Criss, better known by his stage name Treach, had already achieved significant success as the lead rapper of the hip-hop group Naughty by Nature before he ever stepped in front of a movie camera for Jason's lyric. Naughty by Nature had released massive hits including OPP and established themselves as one of the prominent rap groups of the early 1990s, making Treach a recognizable figure in hip-hop culture. However, his transition into acting came through a friendship that would prove pivotal to his career trajectory. Treach's entry into the film world began in 1990 when his close friend Tupac Shakur helped him land a role in the film Juice, which was released in 1992. Tupac, who was making his own transition from music to acting, understood the challenges of crossing over into a new medium and actively worked to bring his friend along on that journey. Juice became a landmark film in hip-hop cinema, and while Treach's role was relatively small, it provided him with his first taste of film acting and opened doors to future opportunities. By the time Jason's lyric came around in 1994, Treach had developed enough acting experience and credibility to land the significant role of Joshua, Jason's troubled and violent younger brother whose criminal activities drive much of the film's conflict. Treach brought an intensity and authenticity to the role that drew from both his acting training and his understanding of street culture through his music career. The character of Joshua required an actor who could convey both menace and vulnerability, someone audiences could simultaneously fear and feel sympathy for. And Treach delivered a performance that remains one of the film's highlights. His success in Jason's lyric helped establish him as a legitimate actor beyond his musical fame. Fact 11. The screenplay drew from Fifth Ward experiences. The emotional authenticity and lived-in quality of Jason's lyric storytelling didn't come from Hollywood imagination, but rather from the real experiences of screenwriter Bobby Smith Jr., who drew extensively from his own upbringing when crafting the film's narrative. Smith grew up in urban Texas, specifically in Houston's Fifth Ward, a historically black neighborhood with a rich cultural heritage, but also significant economic challenges and social struggles. The Fifth Ward's experiences with poverty, violence, family trauma, and the daily efforts of residents trying to build better lives despite difficult circumstances provided the foundation for the story that would become Jason's Lyric. Smith translated his observations and personal history into a screenplay that captured the complexity of life in underserved urban communities, avoiding simple stereotypes while still honestly portraying the challenges faced by families like the Alexanders. However, when it came time to actually film the movie in Houston, the production made an interesting geographical shift. Instead of shooting in the Fifth Ward, where the story's inspiration originated, the filmmakers chose to use the Third Ward as their primary filming location. This decision was driven largely by practical considerations related to gentrification and urban development changes that had already begun transforming the Fifth Ward by the early 1990s. The Third Ward, while geographically close and sharing similar cultural and historical characteristics with the Fifth Ward, provided locations that better matched the aesthetic and practical needs of the production. Both neighborhoods are part of Houston's historically Black community and share common threads of culture, struggle, and resilience, making the Third Ward a suitable stand-in for the story's original inspiration. The decision to film in the Third Ward rather than the Fifth Ward demonstrates how filmmakers balance authenticity with practical production considerations. Fact 12. It was Doug McHenry's directorial debut. Doug McHenry was already a respected and successful figure in Hollywood when he took on Jason's Lyric, but his reputation had been built entirely behind the camera in a different capacity than the one he would assume for this film. Before Jason's Lyric, McHenry had established himself as a producer with an impressive track record of commercially successful and culturally significant films that helped define the landscape of Black cinema in the early 1990s. He served as producer on New Jack City, the 1991 crime thriller starring Wesley Snipes that became both a box office hit and a cultural phenomenon, establishing a template for urban crime dramas that would be imitated for years afterward. McHenry also produced the House Party Films, the wildly popular comedy series starring Kid 'n Play that captured the spirit of youth culture and hip-hop lifestyle, while remaining accessible to mainstream audiences. These producing credits gave McHenry credibility, industry connections, and an understanding of what audiences wanted from Black-centered films. However, producing and directing are fundamentally different roles that require different skill sets and creative approaches. As a producer, McHenry had been responsible for overseeing projects, managing budgets, and ensuring films got made. But he hadn't been the primary creative voice shaping the moment-to-moment storytelling and visual style. Jason's Lyric represented McHenry's first opportunity to step into the director's chair and put his own artistic vision directly onto the screen. The fact that he chose a romantic drama for his directorial debut was itself somewhat unusual, as many first-time directors gravitate toward genres they've already worked in as producers. McHenry's decision to direct Jason's Lyric demonstrated his desire to expand the types of stories being told about Black characters and communities beyond the crime and comedy genres where he'd previously found success. Fact 13. A 2025 stage revival features original cast members. 3 decades after Jason's Lyric first captivated audiences in movie theaters, the love story is getting a second life in an entirely different medium, bringing the tale of Jason and Lyric from the screen to the stage. In 2025, a theatrical adaptation of Jason's Lyric has been touring across the United States, reimagining the story for live performance while maintaining the emotional core that made the film so beloved. What makes this stage production particularly special for fans of the original film is the inclusion of several cast members from the 1994 movie, reprising their iconic roles. Alan Payne, who portrayed Jason in the film and whose performance helped define the character as one of cinema's most memorable romantic leads, has returned to play Jason once again in the stage version. Tretch, whose intense portrayal of the troubled younger brother Joshua was a highlight of the film, is also back in the role for the theatrical production. The stage adaptation has also brought in new talent to fill out the cast, including Eva Marcille, singer Kay Michelle, and Tyron Turner, who add their own interpretations to the story while working alongside the returning original cast members. The decision to bring back Payne and Treach creates a unique bridge between the film and stage versions, giving audiences a chance to see these actors inhabit the characters they helped create more than 30 years ago, but in a completely different performance context. Stage acting requires different techniques than film acting, demanding broader physical expression and vocal projection while maintaining emotional authenticity. So watching Payne and Tretch adapt their performances for live theater audiences adds an additional layer of interest to the production. The touring nature of the show means that fans across the country who may not have access to major theatrical markets still have opportunities to experience this adaptation in person. Fact 14. Bokeem Woodbine moved to LA because of this film. For Bokeem Woodbine, who delivered a powerful and unsettling performance as Joshua, the violent and unpredictable younger brother at the heart of Jason's Lyric's family tragedy, the film represented far more than just another acting job. Woodbine was just 21 years old when he completed his work on Jason's Lyric, still early in his acting career, but already demonstrating the intensity and skill that would define his future performances. The experience of working on the film and the opportunities it represented for his career had a direct and immediate impact on his life decisions. After finishing Jason's Lyric, Woodbine made the significant choice to relocate from his previous home to Los Angeles, the entertainment industry's primary hub, specifically to pursue film work more seriously and position himself for more opportunities in Hollywood. Moving to Los Angeles is a common step for actors who are serious about building film and television careers, but it's also a risky leap that requires commitment and sacrifice, especially for young actors without guaranteed income or established industry connections. For Woodbine, the move paid off spectacularly over the following decades. He built a steady career appearing in numerous films and television shows, often playing complex, morally ambiguous characters that showcased his range and intensity as a performer. His career reached new heights when he was cast in the second season of the acclaimed television series Fargo in 2015, where his portrayal of Mike Milligan, a charismatic and dangerous enforcer for the Kansas City mob, earned widespread critical praise and brought him Emmy and Critics' Choice Award nominations. The recognition from Fargo introduced Woodbine to new audiences and solidified his reputation as one of Hollywood's most underrated and talented character actors, a far cry from the 21-year-old who decided to move to Los Angeles after completing Jason's Lyric. Fact 15. A filmmaker publicly defended the film's sex scenes. When Jason's Lyric premiered in 1994, the film's explicit love scenes immediately became a focal point of both audience fascination and critical discussion, with opinions divided about whether the sexual content served the story or crossed into exploitation. Peter Rainer, a film critic writing for the Los Angeles Times, published a review that suggested the love scenes in Jason's Lyric were gratuitous and exploitative, questioning whether the explicit nature of the romantic content was artistically justified or simply designed to titillate audiences. This criticism represented a broader discomfort some reviewers felt about seeing black characters portrayed in such explicitly sexual contexts on screen. Though whether that discomfort stemmed from legitimate artistic concerns or from racial double standards in how black sexuality was perceived remained a subject of debate. The criticism didn't go unanswered. Jamaa Fanaka, a filmmaker known for his work in black independent cinema, including the Penitentiary film series, publicly responded to Rainer's review with a passionate defense of Jason's Lyric and its approach to depicting black romance and sexuality. Fanaka argued that the love scenes in Jason's Lyric were not exploitative, but rather necessary and important, providing black audiences with romantic and sexual representation that mainstream Hollywood films rarely offered. He specifically used the phrase cinematic sexual healing to describe what the film provided, suggesting that seeing black characters portrayed as romantic, sensual, and sexually fulfilled beings on screen served a cultural and psychological need for audiences who had been largely excluded from Hollywood's traditional romantic narratives. Fanaka's defense highlighted how discussions about sexuality in film are never purely about artistic merit, but are always intertwined with questions of representation, cultural context, and whose stories get told and how. The debate between Rainer and Fanaka captured the larger tensions surrounding Jason's Lyric's reception and its place in black cinema history.